Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 1990's Represent. We're still in our fifth cycle of 1995, talking about a movie. In this episode, we're talking about Bad Boys. So, just a buddy cop classic, um, beginning of the Bad Boys series, and just a great, just overall film. The chemistry between Will Smith and Martin Lawrence is top notch, and it's just a fun time. I actually have this on DVD. For this video, I ended up actually watching it on streaming because it actually did come back to streaming. But a while ago, sometimes we talk about the Walmart $5 DVD bin, and ended up picking up a while back the Bad Boys double pack. So Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2, just two movies for like $5. And these are both classics. I love both of them. I like Bad Boys more than Bad Boys 2. Bad Boys 2 feels a little bit bloated. The original film, which we're discussing here, I think is actually relatively short. I don't know what the actual runtime is, if it actually says here. Little shy of 2 hours. And Bad Boys 2 is like 2.5 or something. Actually, 23 close to 2.5 hours. So I prefer the original because it has a shorter runtime. I overall just think it's better. Anyway, I have some notes here about this, and then we'll get to the plot and all that stuff as well. Let me just pull this open here. So there we are. So Bad Boys, first released April 7th, 1995, directed by Michael Bay. This is actually his feature film, like his feature directorial debut. I think I have a kind of like a love-hate relationship with Michael Bay. There's some of his movies that I absolutely love. Bad Boys being one of them, Armageddon, and I really actually liked Pain and Gain. I think his more realistic films are better. You can make an argument that Armageddon is kind of in the realm of something that maybe potentially could happen, while something obviously like the Transformers films are obviously like sci-fi. But ended up like really liking this one. Thinking Armageddon's really good. The Rock is incredible. Don't love the Transformers films. Like I think Transformers 2 is like one of the worst things I've ever seen. I don't know if he did. I think the only other Transformers movie I saw, the first Transformers, the second one, which I absolutely hated. Thought like Dark of the Moon was a little bit better. I think that was the last time I saw a Transformers film. Ambulance I think was directed by him, and I actually kind of enjoyed that one. That was a little bit more recent. But yeah, this was his directorial debut. This series has spawned or overall total of 4 films. So Bad Boys in 1995, and then the sequels being Bad Boys 2 in 2003, and then a huge gap, like a 17-year gap between Bad Boys 2 and Bad Boys for Life, which why they named the fourth one that, I don't know, or the third one. And then there's just, I think it was like Bad Boys Ride or Die, or what was the fourth. I've enjoyed all of them. You see we have here. And this is just, again, a great buddy cop film. And one thing I really liked about this particular film is it doesn't set up the buddy cop dynamic in the way a lot of other buddy cop movies do, which is you have two cops being forced to work together that don't like each other generally. So like Lethal Weapon's like that. Lethal Weapon's kind of like a prototypical, one of the best buddy cop movie series like ever. But it's Riggs and Murtaugh initially like not liking each other, being forced to work together, and then eventually making a really good team. That's kind of the the formula for a buddy cop movie. In Bad Boys, though, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith's character Burnett and Lowry are already working together, so they kind of forego the whole part where they're forced to work together, don't initially like each other. So that was kind of a thing that, at the time, I don't remember a lot of buddy cop movies doing something where they were already established with a partner. A lot of those other movies have something where, like, one person's partner gets killed or something, or gets kicked off the force for whatever reason, and then they get paired up with somebody else. So that's one thing I liked about Bad Boys, where they were already working together at that point. Let's see here. Apparently, this was originally supposed to get set in New York, but they ended up moving retooling the story to have it be set in Miami, which I think is actually a really good location for this series. They had to film the movie quickly because both Martin Lawrence and Will Smith had TV contracts and obligations. Martin Lawrence had his show Martin, and Will Smith obviously had Fresh Prince of Bel-Air still work on. So they didn't really have a whole lot of time to get this film, probably between shooting those two TV series. Apparently, according to my research, I did not know this, and this seems like it would be a bad idea, but it would also be really kind of interesting to see if they actually had gone this direction. So apparently, originally, it was envisioned with Dana Carvey and John Lovitz in the role is the leads of this film. Apparently, it was going to be called Bulletproof Hearts, but then I think the rights of it, the film rights got moved to some other studios, and the script got reworked and changed into what we have now. But Dana Carvey and John Lovitz in a buddy cop movie, that would actually be kind of interesting. I would still like to see what that could have become, or what that would be. Apparently, Arsenio Hall was originally asked or offered the role of Mike Lowry, which he turned down, and then basically had huge regrets over that, because I think at the time Arsenio Hall was still kind of big, from the early to mid 90s was still pretty popular, especially in the very early 90s. But they offered this role to him, and he turned it down, and then it went to Will Smith. Let's see here. Apparently, Michael Bay didn't love the script and actually wanted more improv from Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. And apparently, some of the better scenes in the movie were, I think, improv. Especially was reading that the scene at the convenience store where the clerk is pointing a gun at Will Smith, Tia Leone, and Martin Lawrence, and then I think Tia Leone's character goes out and he's still pointing the gun at her, and then in the meantime, when he moves off of Burnett and Lowry, they both pull guns out. They're like, back up and get me a pack of tropical fruit Bubblicious. And then Martin Lawrence's character says, and some Skittles. That's just a classic scene, because this one guy's got one gun pointed at them, and then now, as soon as the Tia Leone's character goes out of frame, they have three guns pointed at them, because Will Smith pulls out two, and Martin Lawrence has got one gun on the guy as well. Let's see here. They put out a pretty good soundtrack. Let me actually just pull up the track list for the soundtrack here. It's going to go through the track list. And again, this was kind of during the time period. I've talked about this before at length about just there was about the 90s having just amazing movie soundtracks, and the fact that they don't really make soundtracks like these anymore. So the track listing for the soundtrack, track one is Shy Guy by Andy Marvel. Then there was So Many Ways, Bad Boys version by Warren G. You have 5050, Here They Come by Bass Mechanics. You have Boom 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 by Greg Allen and Steve Shaker. Me Against the World by Tupac. That's great. Let's see here. Or that was actually, yeah, those are the producers. Someone to Love by John B. and Babyface. I've Got a Little Something for You by NMB. After that was Never Find Someone Like You by Keith Martin. Call the Police by, I think it's Edie Kazmu. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. There's the B-side by the Brat and Notorious B.I.G. You have Work Me Slow by Escape. Clouds of Smoke by Call of the Wild. Juke Joint Jezebel by KMFDM. Then you have Bad Boys Reply 95 by Inner Circle with Tech. And finally, The Thief from Bad Boys by Mark Mancina, which is like a orchestral kind of movie soundtrack kind of vibe. In the beginning of the film, it felt like the score, at least some of the not the soundtrack parts, but the score, almost sounded like it was the score from Speed. So Speed it feels like it could have been used in that movie as well, because it kind of had the vibes from the score of that movie. But just a great soundtrack. Like I said, they don't really do soundtracks like the way they used to back in the 90s. Like the Batman Forever soundtrack is great. Armageddon has a great soundtrack. Bad Boys has an incredible soundtrack um, as well. And now we're going to get into the. Actually, let's get to the cast first because the cast is actually really kind of impressive. So getting Martin Lawrence, obviously Will Smith, Tia Leone's in this. You have I'm probably going to mispronounce this actor's name, Chike Cairo, I think. And then so I didn't recognize him right away, but apparently he plays like the defense minister. Is it Mishki? I think. I mean, actually, bring up this guy's filmography. 1995, same year too. He plays the defense Dmitry Mishkin. So the guy who plays the villain in this movie plays the defense minister in Goldeneye. That's the character that like the general kills and blames Bond for killing him and basically gets everybody to chase after Bond. So to Kev Caro, you have Teresa Randall. I think she was in the first three and got replaced by somebody else in the new one. You have Joe Pantoliano as the captain. Just amazing role for him. Marg Helgenberger is in this. She's kind of like internal affairs, kind of doing some investigation. She's not in a whole lot of the film. And then that's kind of basically like the main cast of the film. And now we're going to get into the plot. So the plot starts off, or the movie just starts off with kind of establishing these characters, and you have Burnett and Lowry in Lowry's car, and Burnett, Martin Lawrence's character is like eating like a burger and has some fries. He's like, hey man, I'm not getting my sex at home. You gotta let me have this. He's like, it's got a really good line about like he's driving around in this like I don't know what kind of car it is, but it's a really nice car. He's like, don't drop anything in my car. This is a limited edition. And then Burnett's character, he's like, yeah, it's really limited. There's no cup holders. He's like, no back seat, like limited on features kind of thing. But Martin Lawrence's character drops some fries, and they pull him. They're like, "You better get those fries out from under the seat." He's like, "I can't get my hand in there." Like it's too small. It's too small. Then they get rolled on by these two like thugs, and they get out, and they basically those thugs just get taken out really quickly. The next scene is like at like a police station, and it's a bunch of people basically robbing like an evidence lockup. You see them like go through like they disable like the security cameras. They like stab the security guard in the neck with something. Like I think the security guard actually survives because it was like I think in the next day in the movie, like the security guard doesn't remember anything. But they're stealing a bunch of drugs that are in the evidence lockup, and they're putting them on these sleds that are like being catapulted like through the like ventilation system. So they basically, it was a drug bust that had happened, and these people are. I don't know if it was implied that they were retaking their drugs or if it was just somebody else stealing evidence that was already there. I don't recall if that was like ever like addressed, but basically all this dope, I think is what they call it. I think it's supposed to be heroin. Goes missing. The next day at the station, Joey Pantoliano's like, "Hey, like all this evidence got stolen. Like Lauer and Burnett, you need to work with these two other guys, try to figure out what's going on." And then Marg Helgenberger's character comes in, and like I said, she's internal affairs, basically thinking that this is an inside job, and she's going to like shut down that like division or whatever. She's like, "You guys, if you don't figure this out in 72 hours, I'm reassigning like everybody in this like station or whatever it was, something like that." So now the case is figured out what happened to all these drugs. They go to like a boxing gym, and Will Smith's character is talking to this lady. He's like, "Hey, if you see anybody like flashing a lot of money, and like looking like they didn't have like basically like let me know if you find anything out or see anything weird, let me know." So they do that, and then I think that lady's also working with like I think she's like a call girl or something. Where this lady's like, "Hey, go to this party," and like so Will Smith's friend goes to the party with Tia Leone's character, and it's one of the guys. I think it's like Dominguez is the guy's name, and he is a former cop, and he's got one of the bricks of drugs there, and I think like what happens is then the main villain comes in and basically it's like, "Hey, I was looking for like I was looking for two missing keys. Like you got them." They kill like the main villain kills that guy, and then he ends up killing Will Smith's friend. Tia Leone's character happens to be upstairs when this is going down, and she like escapes. They try to shoot at her, and she gets away. And before that happened, I think Will Smith's character like friend was like, "Hey, like if anything happens, like call like go like call Mike Lowry. He's like, so one of the best parts of this, the way Martin Lawrence is like, he's like Mike Lowry, like that. I just love that kind of like delivery. But anyhow, so Tia Leo's character calls the police department, and Will Smith's character Lowry is actually investigating something else that's like related to this. So he's not at the station, but Burnett is there with the captain. And Tia Leone's character, let me bring up the cast here, is Julie. So she's like, hey, like, I'm only going to talk to Mike Lowry. And Captain, I think it's Captain Howard, is like, hey, she doesn't know who Mike Lowry is. And he's telling this to Burnett. He's like, you need to be Mike Lowry. You need to like, we need to get this witness because like she's like, hey, if like I don't talk to Mike Lowry, I'm like leaving town. So basically, one of the big points of this movie is Burnett, Martin Lawrence, is acting as though he is Mike Lowry for a good portion of the movie, just to kind of get Tia Leone's character to cooperate with them. It's kind of hilarious because like he goes to like Mike Lowry's apartment. And there's a bunch of pictures of Mike Lowry in the apartment, and she's like, "Hey, like, who are all these pictures?" And he's like, "Oh, those are pictures of my partner. Like, that's Marcus." And she's like, "Well, I like." She basically like says he thinks he was gay or something like that at one point. But they basically are now staying at Lowry's apartment. I think he tells his wife, this is Martin Lawrence's character, that he's been reassigned to Cleveland, even though he hasn't. And then Mike Lowry is actually staying at Marcus's house during this whole thing. So basically, like Martin Lawrence. So basically, there's a scene where Lowry and Burnett are they obviously know who each other are, or and then so it's kind of hilarious because it's a role reversal. So it's Lowry pretending to be Marcus while Marcus is pretending to be Lowry, and they're like Julie's there. I think she's kind of getting suspicious of this whole thing, and they're gonna go to like this club to do something. And there's like a truck out there parked with a bunch of ether because they're doing a whole drug trade. Like the whole thing is like they set up like a drug lab, like the main villain sets up this drug lab and stuff like that. And he's like, "You're messing with my timetable" and all this other stuff. But she sees on the TV one of the people that was responsible for Will Smith's friend getting killed. So she gets one of the guns from Mike Lowry's apartment and brings it to the club. Burnett and Lowry are already there. They note it, and the henchmen up in the office like area, like above the club, notice that they're there. They're like, "Hey, those are the cops from like whatever it was. We need to like take them out." And Martin Lawrence goes into like a restroom. He gets like attacked. Will Smith is like distracted momentarily, and then there's like a huge shootout. They get into the van that has the ether in it, and then there's like a street chase where they blow up a bunch of the ether, and basically get rid of a couple of like the what are they called? Like just like the thugs, the kind of minions of the main villain. At one point, Burnett thinks Lowry is like sleeping with his wife, so he goes over. He's like, "Hey, like you know, I wouldn't be doing this, so like let's just get back to work." The kind of precinct essentially gets shut down. At one point, Mark Helgenberger's like, "Hey, like y'all are reassigned," and then Captain Phillips is like, "Hey, you guys have one last chance to do this," and like I'm gonna jump back just momentarily, but like the scene at the convenience store is like happens like right after the car chase, and they have like a bunch of explosions. And the clerk pulls a gun on them, and he's like, "Listen, you mother bitches," or whatever he says. And apparently that was all improv. And then that leads to the scene where Will Smith pulls out two guns, and Martin Lawrence has got a gun, and he's like, and talks about the tropical fruit, Bubblicious, and then the pack of Skittles or some Skittles. Great line. But basically, I think Julie at one point gets captured by the villains. Like they try to they roll it to her at like an apartment, and the final like scene or a big action sequence happens at an airport where they're getting ready to load a bunch of stuff onto the planes, and Lowry and Burnett show up, and like a huge like gunfight ensues, followed by a car chase between Lowry and the villain, and like basically crash cars. But one of the best scenes in the movie, or best lines, I should say, is one guy's on a plane trying to shoot at Burnett, and Burnett like I think like shoots like a thing behind him, like a explosive barrel of some kind, because it's a Michael Bay movie, right? He shoots an explosive barrel. He's like, "Hey, you forgot your boarding pass," and blows up the barrel, and the guy gets like flown out of the back, like the side of the plane. It's classic. And then there's the car chase where Lowry, after like the villain crashes, and the crash. I remember talking to people in my like middle school at this point, the class where like I think like that guy would have been killed probably instantly upon crashing that car, but he pulls out or falls out of the car, and then he's like Will Smith's pointing a gun at him, and he's like he does a thing where like the villain like moves the gun onto his face. He's like, do it, just shoot me, do whatever you gotta do. And Burnett's like, nah, don't do it. So like they're arguing and having a conversation, and you see like a reflection, like a metal like reflection on Burnett's face because like the villain has pulled another gun out, and then Lowry turns around and just blasts him. That's basically where the movie ends. But yeah, just a classic buddy cop film, and I just love the way like uh, Martin. I think Martin Lawrence. I think is like actually like more the star in this one because like just him pretending to be Mike Lowry is a huge just great part of the movie because he's like, oh, that's me, Mike Lowry. Just the way he says Mike Lowry is just great. And this is I think a very solid buddy cop action movie. It didn't get great reviews at first, but I think it definitely was a commercial success. I mean, obviously a big enough commercial success to get 3 sequels over between 1995 and 2024. There were some huge gaps in time between those sequels, but I think the entire series is a lot of fun. The most 2 recent ones were entertaining. Bad Boys 2 is entertaining, even though I feel it's a little bit long, like at like close to like 2.5 hours or something. But yeah, this is just a buddy cop classic, a great Michael Bay movie. 90s definitely, I think Michael Bay's best work happened, I think, in this decade because you had Bad Boys, you had Armageddon, or you had the Bad Boys, The Rock, and Armageddon, like three absolutely just stellar, fun kind of movies. Like obviously not amazing, like from a story perspective or even an acting perspective, but just 3 very solid action films. So that is going to do it for this video. We'll be back again in a few days doing a video game from 1995 before jumping back into 1996. So again, that's going to do it for now. So remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you again next time. Thanks again for watching. Take care and have a good one.